There you go. Sid Uncle James Johnson from Cincinnati.
No.
Indianapolis, Indiana. Cincinnati.
Ever say I'm from Cincinnati. I was born and raised in Indianapolis.
Indiana.
It is always going to be my hometown.
I love it.
Are we taping?
Not yet.
Fuck Cincinnati.
Not yet, but we get ready to. Okay, one. We're going to take that so we know what we're on time. Okay, one. Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show. Like I said, I never know who might walk through those doors, and today we have another exciting guest. Music, promoter, artist, manager, anything to do with the word music, you will always hear this word. Just do it again. Sid,
Uncle
Jam, Sid Uncle Jam Johnson.
Right.
I got it. I should have put my teleprompter up. Okay, let's do it again.
The other night she couldn't remember the lyrics of the teleprompter.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton. I never know who might walk through those doors. And today on this show, we have no other than, let me redo this intro. When you talk about music, when you talk about artists, when you talk about new development, when you talk about new musical technology, you cannot do it without mentioning this legend's name, Sid Uncle James Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. This has been a long time in the making. I'm finally in this chair being grilled by you after all this time.
It was just a matter of time. So you're back home in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Correct.
Tell the viewers about the legend.
Oh boy.
We got time.
Oh boy.
You're on the clock.
Tell people about the legend. First of all, being called a legend, that is something other people anoint you with. I'm just really a regular guy who likes music. There's not really much more to it than that. And sometimes I ask myself, why did I let this happen to me? But it happened to me, and it's like a cancer that it gets inside of you and just eats you away and away and away and away, and you can't get rid of it. I love it. I don't know that I would ever want to do anything else. I went to college to become a psychiatrist.
Really?
And I did a lot of training and studies in that, but it was something about that music bug that just kept pulling me and pulling me and pulling me. And the music bug, it won.
So when did the music bug actually hit you? Take us down to Indianapolis. You give us a little bit about your journey here. You're in Indianapolis. You're from Indianapolis. You're back in Indianapolis. We'll get into that in a minute. But tell us about Indianapolis and how you got involved in the music.
Well, it's actually the Beatles' fault, because I saw them on the Ed Sullivan TV show in 1964. And the way they had those girls screaming and everything, and I was like, oh my God, that would be something that you just want to do, you know?
Right.
Like, wow. But I actually like James Brown, and I like the Motown sound. I grew up in a household where I heard Mahalia Jackson, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Lou Rawls, Dinah Washington, Cannonball Adderley, Shirley Scott, a lot of jazz, heard a lot of gospel, I heard a lot of R&B, I heard a lot of blues. Then I went to a college preparatory high school with members of the majority community, and I got massively exposed to a lot of the rock and pop people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like a walking miscegenation of music. You know, I like it all,
right,
pretty much. Except I'm not too much of a fan of country and western, but
why?
It just doesn't. To me, country and western is Caucasian people's interpretation of R&B.
Okay.
So for me, I'd rather have the real thing.
Tell me about the legends. I see Babyface on your hat, Indiana's own. Is his real name Kenny Edmondson? Tell me about some of the artists that you work with. And then we'll get into why you are back home.
Well, I was his first manager, and he's been a long time friend. He's one of my best friends, and he's an Indianapolis legend.
Yes, he is.
And I've had the privilege and honor and pleasure of writing two of the biggest songs in the history of R&B and pop music with them. Slow Jam, that was done by Midnight Star, that was later covered by Usher and Monica, and Two Occasions, that was done by The Deal, as well as some other things. So that gives a little bit of back history.
You know, I sung those songs a lot of times, especially Two Occasions.
Did you pay us our royalties?
I sung them independently.
Okay. We're going to reach out to some legal giggles and see if we can tap into the Andre the Beast Crayton show and see if they owe us any royalties.
Okay.
But basically, I've sort of always been credited with a knack for discovering new talent.
Right.
And when I do these independent music conferences, I try to invite independent artists to come and perform and to learn about the business. I believe that I want my artists to be sponges and soak up the knowledge and learn something, because there are three things. There's the music, there's the business of the music, and then there's the music industry. And in order to navigate through this thing, you have to know how to work all three. And what I find with a lot of the young people today, they're just only concerned about the music.
Right.
They don't handle any of their business. And they certainly don't know how to deal with the industry. Because when I first got in this thing, there were 9 standalone major record labels.
And what were they? Sony?
No, Sony didn't exist. Motown, Columbia,
and
Atlantic.
Yeah, that's right.
RCA, Polydor.
That's a lot of records.
United Artists. I don't know if I've gotten up to 9 yet. You're catching me off guard to name off all 9. But now there are only 3.
And why is that?
Because many of them sold out their interest. They got swallowed up by the bigger conglomerate. So now we have Warner Music Group, we have Universal Music Group, and we have Sony Music and Entertainment. Those are the 3 that cut the checks, and that's where you see any of these little subsidiaries come through them. But you see, they're not as important as they used to be, because we have so many independent artists now, people that want to do it their own way. And a lot of people don't understand that with the major labels, only 25% of records ever released in America ever recoup the investment of the major label to begin with.
Really?
So that means 75% of the releases, the people either got dropped or they're still owing and in debt to the major label. It takes a lot of record sales, and we don't have record sales anymore because we have streaming. It takes a lot of sales for you to be able to wipe out your debt with a major label. You don't make any money until they recoup their investment in you. And everything that they do for you is called an advance. The studio time, the paying the producer, the engineers, the session musicians, the mixing, the mastering, the container of creating the artwork and the album, the design and all that stuff, and the music videos, any of your travel, any of your hotel, and your per diem for your eating. All of that is in advance.
You're here in town. You've taken the game to a whole different level. I was at the event that is this a yearly event that you're going to be doing now?
We have done it in the past. I work a lot with concert promoter Gino Shelton. I do artist relations for him for his concerts. And based on some of his concerts at prime times during the year, we will hold a music conference. So we've been averaging 2 a year for the last couple of years. So I did this one around the Juneteenth weekend, and also I did it in coordination with saluting 50 years of hip hop existing.
And it was a great event. I'm glad you put that on. Tell the viewers the reason for this. It's really about educating, because evidently you must have saw something as a legend that you say, okay, I need to share this knowledge, and it's definitely being received because I was there yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want these young people that don't know how to do it, I want them to be a sponge and soak up the knowledge. Plus, I want to give them an opportunity to showcase and network with other artists, see what other people are doing. Because I had artists from Florida, from Arkansas, from the Bay Area, from Georgia, as well as people from Indianapolis. So we have people that don't know each other from a can of paint coming there and getting an opportunity to see the other people perform, and also to have DJs, have promotions and marketing people, and have a veteran musician on the panel where they can disseminate information based on the questions that I ask. And then we have people in the audience that ask questions. I mean, I could probably do something like that, and we could probably make it last for 5 or 6 hours, honestly, because I'm sure there are a lot of questions. But you have to want to receive the knowledge. Too many of our young people nowadays, they think they know it all because it is so easy to make what they call, quote unquote, a beat, and then they go and rap over it or go sing over it, and they said they've made a song and they put it on SoundCloud. It's not going to necessarily get you anywhere, because first of all, when you send me something, I'm listening to it to see what I can do to help develop you and take you further than where you are.
Right.
Like, one of the artists that I invited to the event was a young man by the name of Candid, who was born in Indianapolis, but he moved around quite a bit. He went out to Sacramento, then to Arizona.
Right.
I mean, maybe Arizona, then to Sacramento. Now he lives in Arkansas, and he's kind of like, he's like a nephew to me, or a play grandson, because his father is like a play son to me, and I've known his father ever since he was a little boy. So he knows that his son is in good hands with me.
Right.
And he's kind of stubborn because he takes after his father, being very intelligent and thinks he knows how to do it.
Right.
Because they both come from good stock of being very smart. But I've always wanted to get my hands on him and take him to a higher level.
Right, right.
And we're getting ready to really work on that. But because most of his music was too profane for me, and I don't allow profanity in anybody that's on my label.
Right.
And especially not the N-word and that kind of a thing. So I've been wanting him to make a tune that could resonate to a broader audience. And I happened to see him on Instagram Live, I think it was, and he was working on this track. And I think he was surprised that I popped in on this live, and I said, I think you got something there, nephew. You're working on something.
Right.
And he said, I'm doing this one for you, Unc. He said, I'm trying my best to make it clean and see what I can come up with. So he really was working and developing that. I said, you know what? You need more exposure.
Right.
And it would be a really good idea for you to come to my music conference and sing. He said, rap, excuse me. And he said, I'm there. And I really thought he was capping, as they say nowadays. I thought he's talking. He's just saying that to placate me. But he showed up and he showed out. He made the impression. He made me proud. His father is texting me like crazy. How do you do? Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth.
Right.
Tell me the truth. And so we're going to really go into the grit on this record. And I'm going to show him that when it's done the right way, that it can get your brand more out there. Like, it's so many things that so many of these young artists don't do. A lot of them do TikTok, which, as far as I'm concerned, the American government is getting ready to ban TikTok because it's owned by the Chinese, and they don't want that. So some states have already banned it. So he does a lot of stuff on Instagram, but I'm trying to get him to make a Facebook musician band page with his brand of how he spells his name very uniquely, because that's an important element. You must do all the social media. You got to do Twitter. You got to do Facebook. You got to do Instagram. I'm not so hung up on Snapchat, and I truly don't tell people they need to do TikTok because I'm afraid it's going to be leaving us. But you got to expose yourself in every way, because you're dealing with an industry where there are 65,000, hear me well, 65,000 new records uploaded to Spotify every day. So that's what you're competing with. So how do you stand out?
I'm going to ask you a question. What are the 3 questions that you get asked all the time and you go, Lord have mercy, must I do this again?
How can I get...
Because everybody wants to be an overnight sensation.
How can I get booked on shows and go on tour?
Okay, that's one.
That's one. How can I get signed to a major record label? That's 2. And probably, how can I become a star?
Before we answer that, let's do one without telling the whole secret. Because I want people to start coming to this event. I don't want you to give out on a, well, why do you think those 3 are the cliche of the music artist?
because people have seen some of the people like Lil Wayne or Gucci Mane or Future or Lil Nas X or Drake or Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion. I'm naming artists that are appealing to more of the younger people now.
Right.
Because, you know, I like the OG people, but I'm saying this to...
We're going to get into that in a minute, too.
So they see these people being stars and having made it, and they're thinking, I want that too. Or they may think that they are better than those people, and many times they are.
Right.
But sometimes it's where you are, it's the timing of something.
Right.
You know, are you willing to do what that person did to get where they are? Because there are a lot of people, I mean, I'm just going to be very blunt with you. There are a lot of people that are where they are because they got on their knees, or they bent over, or whatever. You can use your interpretations to figure out what I'm saying, because I'm not going to say it. But if you have an expanded enough mind, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And how far are you willing to go
for that fame?
For that fame, and then making it more clean.
Right.
How much of you are you willing to invest to get there? Because this game costs money.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. But then something else that you just said, which I love, and I tell people, I always feel like somebody's watching me. You know that lyric. Now look, you found that next artist because you was watching. He didn't know that.
I watch.
Yeah.
Now, it was helpful to him that I love his father dearly. And it's like a place under me. So that gave him an inroad to at least me paying attention. But I could lose interest just as well as I could have interest, because if I see that he's being a hardhead and he's not listening.
Why waste your time?
Yeah, because I'm not going to tell him anything that's going to be bad for him. And I think he knows that. Now, he may have his own way of wanting to do it, but he might say, oh, you too old Jeeper, you too old school. But I've been there.
Now, do you get a lot of that from the when you're teaching, trying to teach somebody, trying to change that mindset?
Oh, yeah, I get people sometimes that are very resistant. I mean, first of all, I was resistant to getting on Facebook. I was resistant to having a Twitter, and I was really resistant to making an IG. And a lot of my peers, they ask me, how do you know who Gucci Mane is, or NBA Youngboy, or Gunna, and all these people? It's because
you've been in the industry.
I try to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I'm not a young kid in this thing. I understand that. And probably none of their music appeals to me. That's not my taste. But I need to know who they are and what they're doing so that I can intelligently address it.
Right.
You know,
and create a better future and a better understanding of music.
There's no need for rap to be vulgar in order for it to be successful. There's no need for people to talk about killing people or robbing people or disrespecting women or calling their own race out of their own name in order to be successful.
And you know what? When we grew up, I didn't hear that. I'm going to tell you my groups: Ohio Players, The Dale, Babyface. I like Babyface. Alexander O'Neal. I like that old stuff, and you never heard none of that. What happened? Why do you think it changed?
Change is fluid. Happens all the time. And I think we can thank R. Kelly in particular.
Why is that?
From taking it from romancing, buying the box of candies and bringing in the flowers, and going out on a date, and maybe after you take the person home, can I get a kiss? Like, well, I don't know you well enough to kiss you. Until we don't do candy, we don't do flowers, we don't do a kiss, we go straight to boom shakalaka. There's no love making anymore. It's all the way straight to the copulation, to the for unlawful carnal knowledge.
Right.
In R. Kelly songs, we didn't hold your hand. You didn't even have to take off all the clothes and make love. You just bent somebody over and go wham bam, and you don't even get a thank you, ma'am. You know, R. Kelly changed the game, I think, and then from there, it moved forward. People don't romance anymore. They just don't romance anymore. It's straight to let's get it on. Marvin Gaye said, let's get it on, but it was a process to get it on. Now when they say, let's get it on, they want to say, I want like a sloppy Joe, but that's not what they call it.
Now you mentioned something I thought was really good. You said Marvin Gaye in the process. Has the process become more difficult, or has the process become more easier for the up and coming artists?
Well, it depends on what your expectations are. Like a lot of these young ladies that are making it in R&B right now, like Summer Walker, SZA, Kalani, Ella Mai, people like that, just to throw a few names out there, they were never around when albums were $9.98 list price. They were not around with the physical sales. They came into the game when streaming was the rule. So they are the kind of people that when they have large streams, because in order to see any real money from streaming, you have to be in the billions of streams. Because if you have 100,000 streams, that's only about $350. So when these ladies get a check for $75,000, that's good for them because they never knew anything about if they had 100,000 streams, that would be $1 times 100,000 physical sales. You understand what I'm saying? So things have changed. They can't have the same pain that I have when I see my royalty checks because of streaming now. So the game changes, everything changes, but we have to figure out new things to do. You know, a lot of the artists have merchandise now. They do ad buys with Google. They do ad buys with Facebook and Instagram. It's just so many different things that you try to do to get yourself out there, because you're competing against, what, 64,599 other people. I mean, 999 other people to try to get in there and get some sort of a favor.
We're talking with Doc, I'm gonna call you a doctor because you're good at what you do.
Okay, I'll take that.
Tell me about the new and upcoming artists, because you have a list of artists.
I have my own independent record label and management company called MECAP, MECAP. By the way, we have a Facebook page, MECAP Music and Entertainment, and MECAP stands for Musical Entertainment and Consulting and Production. I had to try to come up with something clever.
That is really clever.
I look for young artists that are cutting edge, that can have a look, that can be marketable. You'd be surprised at the amount of people that have a good song, but they don't have any publicity photos. Or they send me a picture, they turn their cell phone around and snap a picture and think that's something I can send out when I do my press kits on them. That's not gonna work. You need a professional photo shoot. And you gotta understand that this is a very visual business. It's not just about your music. They want to see you and what you look like. So I'm sorry if you look like Magilla Gorilla, but you sing.
They don't know who that is.
Yeah, well, in other words, if you're ugly, sorry, if you're ugly Ugmo, but you sing really well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Because when I talk to people in the highfalutin industry, they are not trying to hear what you sound like. The first thing they ask me is, what does he look like, or what does she look like? Because they want to be able to market you. And if you look like
Magilla Gorilla.
Yeah, Magilla Gorilla, because I had some artist names I was going to say, but I don't want to throw shade out there.
Right.
But if you look like that, then there's nothing that can be done. I don't care how well you sing and how well you rap. So the bottom line is, you got to have a look about yourself. There has to be more to you than just your ability to rap or your ability to be able to sing. So if you can't get that together, then you need to just, I don't know, maybe you just need to make records and put them on SoundCloud for your homeboys and homegirls. Don't send them to me because I can't help you.
So you plan on doing your conference here or your workshop here
at least every year.
Every year?
Yeah.
You know, your phone is going off. You must be, you're popular.
I know. And I wish it would stop because it's driving me crazy.
It might be Babyface.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's actually my alarm telling me that I have an appointment at 8:30.
That's called doing your grind. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I'm going to do my grind. I'm going to do my part. I promise you, if you engage me to help you expand your brand, that's what I call it. I'll help you expand your brand. I cannot make people like you, but I can guarantee you that we can put your image and your music into a larger place than you currently have it. Now, whether people like it or not, I can't make people like it.
I think you need to focus on another part too, and I'm not trying to say how to do your thing, but I'm just saying, in general, people need to understand this. And when I see the young entrepreneurs, a few of them get this. It takes money. You need to learn how to invest in your career.
Well, I kind of said that a little bit earlier, but we didn't really get into the nuts and bolts. And I would be very willing for this wonderful beast of a man to come back one day and do a part two. And
we're going to do a part two.
Yeah, we got to do a part two. Because I got to tell you, you got to pay the cost to have some sense of favor and advantage in this business. Very few people do it out of love nowadays. Back in the day when I was managing Man-Child, the program director at a station in Chicago maybe would send it to his buddy in Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Denver, and Omaha, and they would play the record because that person said it. Well, nowadays you got to grease that palm.
Yeah.
And that greasing of the palm is very expensive. I'll leave this with you as my last tidbit. To get a #1 record, you got to spend $1 million.
Wow, you guys heard that. I tell you what, I know we're almost time and you on the schedule. We definitely gonna do a part two. Before we leave, make sure you subscribe, share, like, support the cause here. Developing talent, developing the future. How can the viewers reach you one more time? And then part two of that, leave them with a positive message.
I am on Instagram as Uncle Jams. That's UNCLEJAMZ_. I'm on Twitter, same name, except we don't need the underscore on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, same name, on a musician band page. I have my company Instagram, which is MECAP Music, and I have my company Facebook business page, MECAP Music and Entertainment. I am currently accessible on Instagram under my Uncle Jams _ name. As long as you don't bug me, then I'll put you on block. Because I'm not really into the crazies. You know, you got to be talking about something that's real because I don't have time to waste. I have about,
time is money.
I have about 10 clients, and they are the ones that are serious.
Yeah.
And I think I'm taking on a new client this week. And as long as he doesn't try to butt heads with me because I have a big belt. I would like for young people to understand, soak up the knowledge.
Right.
Learn. Us OGs, we know something because we've been there.
Right.
You've got a new way that you do things. I think it's called old school rules with new school tools.
That and more. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just been schooled by the legend. Repeat, the legend himself, Sid, Uncle Jams Johnson. Thank you for watching the Andre, the Beast, Crayton show. Okay, now let's do the teaser. On this episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton, we have no other. Now I gotta do it again because I left my partner's name out. She's gonna kill me. 1, 2, 3. On this episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show with Yolanda M. Smith, we're talking with the legend,
Sid, Uncle Jams Johnson.
Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. On this episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show with Yolanda M. Smith, we're talking to the legend,
Sid, Uncle Jams Johnson. You definitely want to tune in or tune yourself out.
That and more on the Andre the Beast Crayton show. That's it, dog. Hey, that was good.